If you live in San Diego right now and you're thinking about selling your home and moving elsewhere, whether it be within California or out of state, you are going to want to stay tuned. In this video, we're going to get into 5 conversations you need to have / questions you need to answer before moving. And all these will give you a little more clarity on your move and help make that transition even easier. The reason I'm making this video is because over the past few years, we've had multiple friends, family, past clients, referrals, people from YouTube, whoever it might be, reaching out who live right here in San Diego, who own their home right here in San Diego and are moving elsewhere, whether it be for retirement or family or friends out there or lifestyle or job, whatever the case might be. There's a lot of people who do live here who are moving elsewhere. So I want to make this video to cue you in and, like I said, help make the transition so much easier. And as always, thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris Erickson. We have a real estate crew right here in San Diego. So if you are thinking about making the move, it's never too early to reach out, whether it's 1 month from now, 1 year from now, or even beyond. Feel free to reach out. All of our contact info is right below whenever you're ready, because we got your back when making the move here in San Diego. The first topic we are getting into is timing. And the reason we're getting into this is because we just recently had this question asked: figure out how long it does take to sell a house out here and get into the next house. Now, out here in San Diego, these timelines can change, but just as a rule of thumb, right now we're seeing houses sit on the market, let's say anywhere between 15 days and 45 days. That's before you get into escrow. Once you get into escrow, you're looking about another 30 to 45 days. So the whole process from putting your home on the market to actually closing on your home, usually between anywhere 45 to 90 days. Could be quicker, could be a little bit longer, but that is a good ballpark. And then you're going to want to budget about, depending on what you're doing to get the home prepped, maybe 30, 45, maybe even 60 days if you're working on bigger projects. So the timeline that you need to start is actually a little bit before you think you might need to, just to give yourself that additional time, just so you're not rushed. So now getting into a few options as far as selling your house and potentially buying another house. You can buy the house where you are moving, whether it be out of state, within California, whatever it might be, and sell your current home right here in San Diego later. Gives you the benefit of getting in there. There's not the 2 moves where if you go to rent a place, you have to move there, go find a place. But the downside is you will have, if you do have a mortgage on your property, if you do anything changes in the market, there is some downside risk there. If you move into your new property, the market changes significantly within the time that you're going to sell your property here in San Diego, then you could potentially run into some issues if you were banking on that money to come in. But we have seen clients do it that way. The next way to do it is to sell your house here first, buy out there later. There might be a little bit of gap in the middle. So during that gap, Airbnbs, we work with a lot of relocation clients too, for people coming out here. And this is sometimes how they do it. They will sell their house out there, move out here, have maybe a month or two, find the house out here, purchase that. Obviously, the downside of that, you do have the 2 moves. You are going to have to put all your stuff in storage. The other option is buying and selling at the same time, lining up the timelines from when you purchase your home out where you're going to when you sell your home so that they are closing at the same time. You could basically take the funds from your current house, move them over to the new house, put the rest in your bank, and go from there. Now, in that form, there's going to be potentially some contingencies when you are selling your home out here and buying a home out there. So if you put an offer in on a property, usually you're going to write in a contingency that your home out here has to sell. And that offers you as the seller protection. If something fell through over here, you're not required to purchase out there. There's a timeline, whatever it might be, 7, 10, 14, 30 days, whatever's negotiated on that side. But depending on the market, there could potentially be a little bit, not risk, but a little bit of a less competitive offers as you're writing, because if there's other people writing offers on that property, they do not have contingent offers, then you could run into some issues where your offer does not necessarily look as competitive because it's not really locked in until your contingency period is up. So there's a few different ways to do it. It really depends on what you're comfortable with, what your goals are. And we dive into all that with our clients just to make sure that everything lines up if they are moving and buying and selling at the same time. There's a lot of timelines that got to line up. The next question / topic is renting versus buying. Are you going to move out there and rent for a significant amount of time? Just rent for a few months? Are you going to do a short-term rental? Or are you, like we just said, are you just going to buy, make the move and make that commitment. So when people move out, we've seen it done a lot of different ways. We have one client who's moving out to Colorado. He's going to sell out here. He's going to rent out there for a bit. We have other clients moving elsewhere who are going to purchase first and then sell their home kind of at the same time. There's going to be a little overlap, but there's a bunch of different things to think about. How well do you know the place? How well do you know the area? Have you been out there? Have you been to that specific development or that specific neighborhood, driving around? Because once you're living there, obviously it's going to be a little bit different, or maybe even a lot different than just vacationing out there. When we have clients moving out here to San Diego from elsewhere, we always like to set up a time and a plan to have them come out and set up a trip more like, hey, we're going to move here, so let's go check out the neighborhoods. Yes, we could have some fun, but it's not necessarily in vacation mode. You're a little bit more in exploratory mode, checking out specific neighborhoods, specific areas, and really get your bearings so you know where you're going to move, where you're going to go shopping, where you're going to go to the gym, where you're going to go play golf, all that kind of fun stuff. And typically when you move out of San Diego, if you are going to rent for a little bit, it's typically going to be less than here than in San Diego. So keep that in mind too. You might think if you did that here in San Diego, the difference between what you rent for a few months in between and then purchase home, it could be significant. Depending on where you're going, it can be a little bit more affordable. And one really good way to help you learn more about the area, learn more about potential agents in the area, and find one you really vibe with is going to YouTube and typing in living in wherever the city you're moving to, living in Denver, living in Phoenix, living in Tampa, living in Tennessee, whatever the case might be. I know that's not a city, but there are all these channels to help you figure out what area is going to work for you. They're going to have a lot of pros and cons videos. They're going to have a lot of neighborhood tours. They might have some house tours if they do have a lot of new construction out there. But you're also going to get to see the agent's personality. This is how we generate a lot of our business, is making videos about San Diego, tours, vlogs, pros and cons, all that kind of stuff. And then people are reaching out to us. And then, yeah, it takes a little bit more than just seeing the videos, but we have had clients move out strictly based on the videos who never really came out and spent significant time in San Diego. They move here, they love it, but it is a great little hack to know if you are thinking about moving somewhere and want to get educated on specific neighborhoods and areas you're thinking about moving. Now let's hop into costs associated with the sale of a home. There's a few parts that we'll cover here. The first one is going to be tax implications. Obviously, I am not a tax advisor, so reach out to your tax advisor and give them your situation, and they can help you out and figure out what your potential tax burden might be. But for general purposes, if you are single, you'd have no capital gains tax up to $250,000. If you are married, up to $500,000 on gains from your property. So let's say you bought your property for $500,000. You are selling it for $1 million now. You have a $500,000 capital gain. Then you potentially will not have any capital gain taxes on that if it was your primary residence. Once again, talk to your tax professional. Make sure your situation does line up with what I'm saying right here. You're not going to walk away with all of the proceeds that you did take on your home, because you will have some sort of tax burden. The second part is actual cost. How much does it actually take to sell a home right here in San Diego? One thing we do provide to sellers to give them a pretty good indication of what their net proceeds are going to be, not including the taxes. That's a different thing. But net proceeds after the sale of your home, we run something called a net sheet. So we'll contact our preferred escrow office, give them all the details, including how much is your mortgage. They're going to run and figure out property taxes and title insurance and escrow costs and all of that. We also will add the potential commissions in there as well. So you'll get a really good idea of what you are going to walk away with at the end. So it's super important. There's going to be some smaller costs, like just notary fees. There's going to be some bigger costs. The main ones are going to be escrow and title. We'll get into all that in another video. Or if you guys have questions, just drop a comment below. And as always, feel free to subscribe, hit that notification bell, because we're dropping new videos here every single week on all things San Diego, all things real estate. So make sure to stay tuned. So if you are thinking about buying or thinking about selling or relocating out of here, feel free to reach out, because we got your back when making the move here in San Diego. But back to costs. So you're going to have costs involved with that. And the numbers are going to vary depending on what city you're in, transfer taxes, depending on the cost of your home or the sales price of your home. All that's going to come into account. Your mortgage, all that. So if you do have questions on that, like I said, drop us, or actually just reach out because we need some specific numbers. Nonetheless, there's another thing. If I'm going to go back up to taxes real quick, if you are, now most of the clients that we're helping move are moving to different states. But let's say you are moving from San Diego to another part of California, because this is only going to be relevant for California moves within California. And it is Prop 19, where if you are 55 or older, you can take your current property taxes, transfer it to your next property of equal or lesser value. And back to timelines, you have a specific amount of time that you could do that. It's a 2-year time horizon. You could sell your property here, figure out what you're doing, and purchase another property within that time frame and transfer your taxes. So if you buy your house 20, 25 years ago and your property taxes are super low, and maybe that's holding you up from moving because the new property taxes are going to be a lot. Well, it's not necessarily the case. If you are purchasing a home in, once again, California only, within California, and it's equal or lesser value, you could do a transfer of your current property taxes. If you go over the amount of what you sold your home for, the new property taxes will take place. So the first chunk, whatever you sold your house for, will be the transfer property tax. Anything on top of that will be new property taxes, so at the current rate. So a little confusing, but there is ways to save some money in that capacity as well, where you're not necessarily going from super cheap property taxes to something super expensive. Now, what about logistics or the actual move? Now, there's a few different ways to do it, but we've seen like 2 or 3 main ways that people are doing. First off, if you're living here and you're moving elsewhere, is instead of moving all your stuff, we've seen a lot of people try to, maybe they're downsizing house as well where they're going, but they are also usually downsizing their belongings before they leave. The less stuff you have to move, the better it's going to be, the easier it's going to be. Yeah, you could get, obviously if you have some beautiful furniture or artwork or stuff that, sentimental stuff that you're going to be moving, that's great. If it's just standard, maybe you want an update when you get out there anyways, there's a lot of different reasons. But one of the best ways to make that move a little more affordable, because you're not paying as much in moving fees and moving trucks and all that kind of stuff, is to get rid of a lot of stuff. And it's easy as doing like AMVETs or drop-offs at Goodwill or yard sales or whatever the case might be. There's a few different ways to get rid of a lot of stuff. But one of the main ways actually to get the stuff that you are bringing is just using a service like Pods. There's a bunch of these out there. So do some research and figure out which ones are going to be best for you. Pods is just one of the name brands, one of the bigger ones that you'll see out there. They make it super easy to park it at your house. You'll be able to fill it up on your own time. They will even take it and store it for the amount of time that you need. So when you do move to your new house, they'll just come and drop it off. Once again, unload it at the time that works for you. And once again, on downsizing, we had clients move from Virginia out here to San Diego. When they showed up, they had one pod. They had a decent sized house out there. They were able to fit all their stuff in one single pod because they got rid of a ton of stuff before they moved out. So their new move-in was super easy. It wasn't even a big pod. It fit like in a driveway, maybe like 16, 20 foot, something like that. But anyways, pods are a really easy way to do it as well. The other way we've seen it done too is just simple full-on movers who are going cross-country. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. It's going to involve not you, because you're not having to move stuff out of your house. So it does take the ease of that off there. Make sure to hire someone that has a great reputation, that does a good job, protects all your stuff. You have insurance on it, because you want to make sure everything gets there and gets there in one piece. The last part, we've had clients who move out and maybe aren't moving out yet, but they did want to hire a moving truck. So they've actually sent their moving truck out. We've met the movers at a storage facility. They'll unload it all to the storage facility with check boxes. I remember Cassidy was doing a drop off for some clients a few months back, and you have a whole box of checkoffs. Okay, here's this item, here's this item. They're going through every single item, making sure it's there, making sure it's not damaged, all that stuff. So there is that as well, where you can get a storage facility where you're at. You can either fly out, or we were just ended up taking care of our clients. You guys stay out there, we'll take care of it for you. Make sure everything gets here. So there's a few different ways to actually logistically make the move. And this next part is one of the most important parts, and it's finding the right agent where you currently live right here in San Diego. We're agents. Once again, if you guys do want to chat, feel free to reach out, but also where you are moving. Now, yeah, it's a little bit more difficult because you are hiring 2 agents. You're having to make sure everybody can coordinate, make sure all of the pieces line up. So you want to make sure, first off, that that person that you're hiring where you're moving to knows the area. Front, back, side to side. One good way to figure that out, go to YouTube, see how much they are chatting about these areas, how much they actually know knowledge-wise about specific topics in these neighborhoods, specific little suburbs or specific master plan communities. How well do they know where you're actually trying to move? Second off, you want to make sure they have experience, not just experience in the real estate business, but also experience in helping clients relocate. Because like I said, going through all this, you're moving from one area to the other. It's not necessarily just an across town move. There's a few more parts that are moving. There's a few more things that need to be communicated. So you want to make sure that they do have experience in that front as well. And also you want to make sure they can communicate and coordinate with all the parties. So like I said, there is moving parts, especially if you are doing concurrent closing where you are buying your home out there and you're selling your home out here and they're both scheduled to close on the same day. You're going to need both agents on both sides to be on top of that. Make sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and make sure everything is really dialed in. And that's something that we built over the years, obviously helping people relocate here, but now helping people relocate out of San Diego and having relationships with a few of these other people, with a lot of these other people in different cities, the living in channels. So we have people in Denver, in other parts of Colorado, in Tennessee, in Tampa, in Northern California, in just kind of all over the place. So if you guys are thinking about moving and you want to start that conversation, as a quick reminder, I'm Chris Erickson. We got a real estate crew right here in San Diego, and we got your back when making the move here in San Diego.